left, it was worse. It was 32nd. But I said, it's bad with him. He can't defend the run. And Jerry Jones, an oil man, doesn't want all his oil in one or two wells. He wants to have 7 or 8 wells. They want to diversify their portfolio. So Stephen Jones is now admitting 1 year later with Kenny Clark and Rashawn Gary and their draft picks where they went Caleb Downs and another edge rusher and Quinnen Williams. Stephen Jones is like, yeah, it worked out just the way we told you it would.
We feel really good about it. Obviously, much respect for Micah and what he stands for and how he plays and the caliber of player he is. But, at the same time, we feel good about what we've added, via that trade. The decision we made was, that one player is not worth, 4 or 5 good ones. And we feel like that's where we're going to end up here and in a good spot. And, we had that opportunity there and didn't feel like we were one player away last year, but I certainly feel like we're putting the pieces together.
When you make a big trade, nobody's denying that the star that comes to town, it can be Matt Stafford, it can be Micah Parsons, they add value to the team they land, no question. But if you really go and look at a lot of the big trades, the team that loses the star frees up capital and draft picks. Stafford leaves the Lions. That was actually the beginning. A year later, and about a year and a half later, it was the beginning of something special. All those draft picks and a free Jared Goff. That's how Brad Holmes built what he has right now. If you go look at Tyreek Hill, all those draft picks Kansas City got, they used them to shore up their defense. That dynasty started as an offensive dynasty. The last several Super Bowls have been a defensive dynasty. Mahomes and defense, they all came from the Tyreek Hill. Now, Tyreek Hill added some value to the Dolphins. Nobody's saying he didn't. I mean, if you go look at Russell Wilson, when he got moved off Seattle, 2 of the draft picks they got from Russell Wilson, Charles Cross, excellent left tackle, and Witherspoon, Von Witherspoon from Illinois, unbelievable second or third, maybe first best corner in the league.
Can you guys help me out here? I need your guys' help. I'm being honest with you. Why are we still constantly talking about Micah Parsons and the trade with the Dallas Cowboys? I honestly really don't know. I take, I don't want to say pride, but I think I'm pretty good at navigating these conversations and figuring these things out and figuring out where the media is going to go, the conversations that are worth having, why the certain conversations are being had, how to unpack them, find the reality of the situation, find what's actually worth unpacking about a specific conversation, changing the conversation if I think we're having the wrong conversation. And for the life of me, I really do not understand why every time we talk about the Dallas Cowboys, it's constantly through this Micah Parsons lens. We did it all last season. And I got it because it was a big trade in this. I get it, but it just we keep continuing to constantly people would have thought that Micah Parsons was they just traded Tom Brady or something or Patrick Mahomes at 28 years old or something I don't Michael Parsons is obviously an amazing player, an awesome player, right? He is awesome, no doubt about it, and it's the Dallas Cowboys and Micah is a popular player but it's it's just Micah, it's not I don't you Andy. Understand I really don't, and then what I continue to not understand is Colin is this is clearly this is everything that the Cowboys wanted to be able to do and it was the beginning of something special blah 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 blah, but then goes on and says that the Cowboys are going to win 7-8 games. So what? And so if you tell me that trading Micah and then in the next 2 years you're going to miss the playoffs and you're going to win 7-8 games or whatever, that's bad business. That's bad business. That's at the start of something beginning. Again, if your quarterback was 23 years old and you're well, we're still going to go through some growing pains with Dak. It's actually a perfect situation cause by the time Dak is, in his prime or whatever, we're going to be no, at that point Dak's going to be in his mid-30s and you're going to have to start flirting with the idea of getting another quarterback. So I don't understand the conversation. I don't understand the obsession of Micah. I really don't. I really don't. And it's one thing if the Dallas Cowboys had won a bunch of rings and Micah was like a 2-time MVP or something, right? We didn't even do this with Tyreek Hill and the Kansas City Chiefs. We didn't. We absolutely positively did not. We really do not. In fact, the only person that I still hear brings it up is actually Colin, who still constantly brings up Tyreek Hill as a reference point. And it's like that's Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. Okay. And they're like, look what they were able to do that and win these Super Bowls, and it's like, and they eked out those wins against a quarterback, one against a quarterback who you don't think is good, Jalen Hurts, and you still eked out a last-minute field goal, and then you won another Super Bowl against Brock Purdy, who people definitely do not think is a good quarterback, needed overtime, eked out that win, and then got rocked by the quarterback who's not good, Jalen Hurts. And then missed the playoffs, and now they're desperate to be like they need to find another receiver, they need another weapon. Blah blah blah. So, it's just like, and that's with Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid and Spags, etc. But I don't understand the constant obsession and lens of looking at the Dallas Cowboys constantly through Micah. I really don't. And even if he's being asked and interviewed like Stephen Jones, whatnot, you just go, hey buddy, at this point, this was like a year ago. I'm just worried about the guys that we have right now. There you go. And again, what I continue to take issue with is that this was planned all along. It wasn't. They were ready to pay Micah a ton of money. They wanted to pay Micah a ton of money. Maybe not as much as he ultimately wanted, but they were still ready to pay him a ton of money. They wanted to keep Micah. That is so obvious. That is so clear. That is so well documented. We don't need revisionist history at all. So, we can stop with it. We can absolutely stop with that nonsense. And so it's just like, it's the same thing that they tried to do with the Seattle Seahawks. Oh, so smart. They moved on from Geno and DK Metcalf. And it's like, no, they didn't. They wanted Geno. They wanted DK. It's like we don't have to have same thing was happening with the Eagles now. I forgot to say this in another clip when we were talking about the Eagles and saying the Eagles move on from quarterbacks. They moved on from Carson Wentz. They wanted to keep Carson Wentz. They did everything to keep, that's why they fired Doug Peterson to try to keep Carson Wentz to make him happy, and then they realized that relationship was broken. Then they were like, okay, we'll send you, to the Colts, and then it's like Jalen Hurts. That was not the ultimate plan. That was not the ultimate plan at all. We can pretend it was. We could have revisionist history. It doesn't make it true. They knew that Carson kept getting injured and whatnot. So, they needed a backup plan, which is why they drafted Jalen in the second round. But it wasn't the ultimate plan to be like, they're drafting Jalen and they're moving on from Carson. That's not what the plan was. That's not what it was, just a plan B or Gin ally that turned into a plan A. So, we don't have to have revisionist history to make a move look better. We don't have to do that. And so I don't understand why we keep looking at this through Micah Parsons' lens. I don't understand. I don't understand. I don't understand. I don't understand. And I don't think Jared Goff was free. Didn't he have a $150 million contract, which at the time was a ton of money? So I don't think Jared Goff he didn't get traded on a rookie deal. He got paid. And then the Lions, after the 1 year, the 2 years, whatever, what was it? I guess maybe after 23, he then got paid $200 million. He then got paid top dollar again. And they also had Ben Johnson. Matthew Stafford didn't get to have Ben Johnson. And a lot of people are saying that Jared Goff is holding the Detroit Lions back. I'm not necessarily one of them. I'm not. But still, I went back and watched that NFC Championship game. He played really poorly. He was not good. And not the NFC Championship game. He played great in the NFC Championship game. He was not the problem. The divisional round against the Washington Commanders in 24. Snorts, so, I don't know. And again, I'm not saying that moving off of Micah was the wrong move. In fact, I'm pretty sure that's what I was saying to do in 24. I was going back and forth because we were talking about at that time there was like the big like CD Lamb, Micah, and Dak. And I'm almost positive. My take was move on from Micah. I'm almost positive that was my take cause I said, you know what, at this point I think it's better to get Micah out of the building. That was my take. Actually, I'm almost 99% positive because we were floating around like what do you do with CD? What do you do with Dak? And then because that was the conversation because there was rumors that maybe they move on from Dak. I remember Nick said that like he's not going to sign Dak and then like Dak like immediately got the contract and they're like, okay, never mind. I'm almost positive that's how that all unfolded because I remember making a video about potentially Dak being traded to the Raiders and the Raiders did not want that at all. I remember it was like one of the first Raiders videos I ever made and they were like, we don't want anything to do with Dak. We want Aiden O'Connell. I remember that very vividly. And so it was like, what do you do? Do you move on from Dak? You get great draft capital and you start this rookie deal again, right? You get a rookie quarterback. Like I remember floating some of those just again not saying that's what the Cowboys should do but like that's just just the options right we were just playing around with what technically are some of the paths and their people because I remember people were saying well Dak has no trade clause and it's like that doesn't matter because you're going to go to them and say we want to trade you and we're drafting another quarterback and you're not like you either want to be traded to an actual team or not otherwise like you're actually doing yourself a disservice and I remember because everyone always is so confident about that no trade clause and it's like guys that's like it's in the best interest oftentimes of the quarter if anything it just gives the quarterback some veto power to say like no you're not sending me to the Cleveland Browns but otherwise it's like they have a good situation set up it's like okay you're not going to play here you're in the past we want to move you either want to sit on the bench or you want to play which is it so I remember having that whole conversation and then I ultimately reached the conclusion what time to move on from Micah so I was actually a year early on the trade Micah so this isn't about, being, just not wanting to give the Cowboys flowers for the Micah trade or this or that. So, it's just I can't make sense of it. So, I need people to help me out here. So, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single comment whether you agree with me or disagree with me. Either way, let's get some discussions. Let's get into some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. Please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here and absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all generally feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be a part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. This really does help the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.